Alright folks, unfortunately it's raining in Jayess, Mississippi today, so we're just in the studio here, got my shelf behind me. I'm still doing it on the laptop because it's just easier to fool with. I could rig everything else up like I do for the reaction videos, but I just try to do this kind of impromptu and quick. So we're still on the laptop. And anyway, before we get to the questions, I want to point something out. You may notice there's a new item on the shelves right there. Yeah, there we are. That is a replica of Bruce Springsteen's Telecaster that was sent to us by a fan of the channel. I don't know if this person would be comfortable with me naming them to say thank you, so I'm not going to name any names, but you know who you are, and I gotta say thank you so much for this. This is one of the coolest things we have gotten, and I just cannot thank you enough. As you can see, we got it on the top shelf, and that is where it is going to stay. It's just absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I never thought that somebody would like our reaction series and what we're doing here enough to do something like this, and it's just, I just can't say how much I appreciate it. We appreciate it here on the channel. Another thing, speaking of this week on Patreon, I actually got a question. I don't usually respond to Patreon questions on this. This is usually just the YouTube, and hasn't just been the YouTube questions I answer every week on these videos. But on Patreon this week, one of our patrons, regular viewers, great viewer, Ellen, asked a question, and I answered her on Patreon, and I thought some of you may be wondering this too, so I'm going to also answer it out here in public for everybody in case anybody's curious. I use the term we and us a lot on this show, and Ellen asked on Patreons, who exactly is we? So, in case anybody's curious, we are me, our consulting producer, Kyle Graves, who is a phenomenal singer-songwriter that we produced his first record on Random Mind Records, released it last year. It did really well in the iTunes charts. It was nominated for awards called the Autumn Sessions. It's a great record. It's an acoustic folk record. If you like acoustic folk music, go check it out. But Kyle has been consulting on this since we launched it last August. And we actually, if you stay to the end credits, you'll actually see his name on all videos made from January 4 of this year that say consulting producer Kyle Graves. And then there is a third person that works behind the scenes who doesn't particularly care to be credited or receive any kind of spotlight at all. And this person has done just basically anything that I've asked them to do behind the scenes here. And right now is currently managing and monitoring our comments on YouTube and compiling them together for these videos every week. I've also started training an assistant editor, and I hope maybe eventually this person will be able to take over the editing. It's somebody who had never edited before, so they're kind of learning from the ground up. They were interested in doing it. So we've right now got basically 4 people working for us, 3 that's been here, including me, since the beginning. So that's who we are. If you hear me say we or us, it's not just me here using it in the royal sense or, you know, trying to act like that, oh, we got a giant company here. But anyway, because we don't have a giant company, but there is more than just me on this. So with that all said, we're now going to dig into our YouTube comments. Up first, this is a couple of copyright. A couple of people talking about the voice play copyright here. And this is something I went over with one of our regular viewers earlier this week. Yesterday, I guess it was, in a comment section. I went ahead and addressed that personally in the comment section. But anyway, Veronica, great viewer of the channel, said it was really interesting that you explained about the copyright. I've seen comments saying that voice play don't block videos, but I've also heard some reactions saying that they did get something blocked. So I've been wondering how it is. And they've never blocked us, but we do get, when we upload it, you can't monetize it until you go through the process of submitting the dispute, saying, hey, this content is reaction. We're just reacting to. We're reviewing the content, so it's ours. We're not infringing. And Voice Play's content manager, usually within 2 weeks, releases it with no problem. But I don't know. Some people may have had some stuff blocked. We have had nothing blocked with Voice Play. We've had other stuff blocked. We've had Bruce's blocked. We've had the Beatles. Paul McCartney Beatles video that came out this week has been sitting on YouTube for 30 days waiting to get unblocked, and it finally did. So we've had stuff blocked, just not Voice Play. But even so, I've explained this before about copyright, U.S. copyright law, and something's got to give eventually on reaction videos and copyright law. and I just want to try to limit any liability that we have and get our stuff taken down and have litigation against us. But yeah, I love the Springsteen Live 75, 85 albums. They were the first Springsteen albums I attentively listened to. Just after discovering him, I had heard his Born in the USA album playing in the background before in an Amnesty International show sent on TV, and also featuring Tracy Chapman, Peter Gabriel, and Sting. Interesting. All of whom I already liked. I went searching among my parents' records and found the Live 75, 85 albums. I was hooked. They are great. Hope you'll have a great Easter too. Thank you, Veronica. I did. Hope you did as well. Yeah, there's a lot of folks wanting me to react to the 75, 85 albums on Patreon, but I'm in the middle of doing his Houston set, and there's been some people are like, you're going to be recovering some of the same ground, so I'm trying to figure out how I want to do the 75, 85. David Owen says, this is on a voice play video, I don't have the note on which one. It says, just a note, voice play wants everyone to see, hear, and share their music. They have never gone after anyone for extended play times their videos. That is 100% true as far as I know. They haven't done on us, but as I've explained in comments on videos, one of these days, something may change somewhere. I'm looking at U.S. copyright law. I'm looking at YouTube's policies. You just never know. And to try to mitigate our channel being taken down, or all these videos being taken down for whatever reason, or in some cases like big conglomerates suing us, we stop periodically, and we're going to continue to stop periodically, because that gives us a little bit of a leg up, a little bit more of an argument to say it is fair use, because we are stopping the video and not just letting it play all the way through or halfway through. And right now there's a valid legal argument, that all reaction videos that use the entire song or the entire work are violation of U.S. copyright law, because you're supposed to, it's supposed to be for purposes of commentary, critique, education, and transformative in nature, and not use the entire thing. And we meet a lot of those first requirements for it to be considered fair use and for it to be legal. But we don't meet the last one. No reaction video meets the last one that shows the entire song. So it's harder to argue for fair use by using the entire song already. If you show the entire song without breaking from it, it makes it even that much harder to argue fair use. So we're just trying to hedge our bets a little bit here and avoid something in the future coming down the pipe with voice play. Now, Bruce is a little bit different. Bruce Springsteen stuff, we can't even get the thing up without waiting for 30 days unless we stop it every 30 seconds or so. I think the most I've been able to go is like 36 seconds. If I get to, or 35, and if I get to 36, automatically blocked, and then it wouldn't get unblocked for 30 days. And I usually try to get the Springsteen stuff out pretty quickly after we film, because they're some of our biggest stuff. Same thing with voice play. I try to get those out quickly. I don't really want to wait 30 days. We don't have to with voice play, because their content manager releases the stuff within a couple of weeks, and there's never any issue. But that's not true with everybody. So I hope that kind of explains that a little bit. Grace Parker, Grace, a regular viewer of the channel, says, Cole, you know what bothers me is that every single time I listen to your channel, you keep saying you will get in trouble if you don't stop the video. It doesn't seem to matter who you are listening to. I have to tell you that I just moved from one reactor channel to yours so I could watch this. They did a home free reaction of Crosby, Stills, Nash song. You know the song. I mean the group. They never stopped the video once. They aren't the only reaction channel that doesn't stop their videos, especially that particular group. So I have a feeling that these guys are really playing hardball with you because you are a singer-songwriter and record your own stuff. It's possible. I don't think that's it necessarily. Mentioned that before. Now this doesn't stop me from watching. I remember. We Grace mentioned this before. I do remember that. Now this doesn't stop me from watching your channel, and it won't, because you're terrific. I enjoy your commentary. Thank you, Grace. I appreciate that. Something is up, and it's unfair to you and your subscribers. It's hard to grow your channel this way. I call BS, if you know what I mean. Keep at it and press these dudes for the real reason. I would be happy to share those channel names in private with you so you could listen for yourself. Yeah, I watch reaction channels. Usually it's on a song I already know. Particularly now that I'm doing my own reaction channel, I don't want to contaminate. I don't want to take a song off the table that I can react to myself, so I usually only listen to reactions to stuff I already know. And yeah, a lot of them don't. I have seen some that do like I do, pause periodically. I also seen some that go halfway through the song, stop, and then the other half. And I'm not sure, on some of the stuff, I'm not sure how they're able to do it. I'm really not, because the experiences that we've had with something like this Paul McCartney Beatles stuff, right? 30 days, it was completely blocked worldwide. And we appealed. It took 30 days. They never responded to the appeal. They finally just let it go. Honestly, I think they did that. It was a bigger company that was managing it was one of those big conglomerates, maybe in UMG, I can't remember. I think the reason that they didn't respond and just let it expire is to give them wiggle room to come back later and tell us to take the video down if they want to at some other point, or to take all the revenue from the video. I don't know. I just feel like there's something up there. But I think more, and I went into this a little bit, one of the reasons we pause so much and have continued to pause is not necessarily always something going on right now, but to try to prevent something from going on in the future, because I don't want to build this channel up and then one day it's gone. There's a link to an article from Plagiarism Today that is from the end of 2021. It's talking about how YouTube content creation is untenable under the current state, the current YouTube content ID system and U.S. copyright law. It's just untenable. Something's got to give. Something's going to change. And I hope whenever that thing happens that we can still have all of our old videos up and move forward making new videos. So, on the Marcelito Pomoy video, which is our biggest video of all time, it got 10,000 views in a week, and I know for some channels that's like 10,000 views, that's ridiculous. For us, that's huge. I never thought when we launched this series back in August that we'd be talking in this period of time, 8 months later, that we'd be getting 10,000 views on one video in a single week. It's just phenomenal. Thank y'all so much for that. On the Marcelito video, Ariel Gallo Platino says, new subscriber here. Please react to a group of siblings called Plus 3. I will put that on the list. Shlomo Aaron says, two other unique singers are Dimash. I have heard of Dimash. I think I watched another reactor react to a Dimash song. I don't even remember what it was, but I think that's where I saw Dimash. Kuday Bergen from Kazakhstan, and Deanna Ankudanova from Russia. Okay. David Iliowa on the Marcelito video says, check out this video of the late great Uncle Willie K playing my favorite version of Tahiti song Fa Mai Ra Ra Oi. If I mispronounced that, I apologize. And these are all our suggestions. We're doing our suggestions first, then we'll get into some of the other comments. Lynn Ramsey on the Home Free Colder Weather video says, great reaction. I knew they would win after Ring of Fire. Home Free has a song you might like, the Hunter Hayes melody. Yeah, I actually, that's medley, Hunter Hayes medley. I actually saw that come up on suggestions. I was like, oh, that looks right up my alley, because I really like what I heard from them, because I don't really know a lot of Hunter Hayes stuff, but they had covered that Hunter Hayes song. On Home Free Colder Weather, Angela Mason says, not going to lie, this is my least favorite song from Home Free, sang on the sing-off. Wow, that's interesting. I'm thankful Tim redeemed this song for me with Colder Weather Memory Lapse, one of the best improv moments in history. I hope you see Colder Weather Memory Lapse at some point. Okay, yeah, absolutely. I hope to get to that. Charmaine Vargas on the Marcelito Pomoy video says, hello, welcome to the Marcelito's world of mind-blowing. Try to react to him singing Never Enough, I Surrender, Power of Love. Perfect. Thank you so much for reacting to him. Thank you for watching, and I think I've actually got a couple of those on the list already. I'll add some more. And I think moving forward, we're actually going to be choosing the non-Home Free, non-Bruce, and non-voice play stuff by polls. I'm just going to throw out like 4 or 5 random songs every week and let the folks vote on it on Patreon. John Munitz on Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. Oh, that's an old one. This is a perfect song from a perfect album. Floors me every time I listen to it. This cat really needs to listen to the Townes Van Zandt album, Flying Shoes, especially the title track. Okay, if he hasn't already, I'm this cat. Townes is another national treasure who went far too soon. Yeah, I'll add that to the list. Absolutely appreciate that, John. Juvie, I believe I'm reading that correctly. Perfecto on the Marcelita video says, hi there, have you ever listened to Morissette Ammon, also from the Philippines? Have fun. Thank you. I appreciate that, Juvie. No, I haven't. I'll check that out. Barry Ford on Bruce Springsteen, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. Love watching you on your Springsteen journey. Thank you. I appreciate it, Barry. Last night in Baltimore, another great show. Don Ars on Home Free Ring of Fire says, you missed one with Home Free and Philharmonic Battle. So much fun and worth a look. I saw it. I'm doing the full episode reactions on Patreon, but they're Patreon exclusive, and I'm just pulling the single Home Free songs off of those and post them to YouTube. And it was amazing. You're absolutely right. Sophia C. says, Marcelito is from the Philippines. So gifted singer with no vocal training self. His multiple range of voices is out of this world. Thanks for loving our pride. So proud of him to try to react to Unchained Melody. Hallelujah. Perfect Power of Love. I don't know if I knew he had done Unchained Melody. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. I'll definitely add that to the list. Tom Barton says it's a radio station in the Philippines on a bus. This is where Marcelito was doing this song. I'm told that he's singing in counter, tenor, and baritone. Yes, he's famous and now traveling all around the world performing. He's learned to sing in other languages. Yes, amazing talent. List him on America's Got Talent, singing The Beauty and the Beast. Great video. Okay, I'll add that to the list. Corey Miller. I actually know Corey Miller. I wonder if this is the Corey Miller I know. Says, Cole, have you done a reaction to Home Free doing Man of Constant Sorrow? It's one of my favorites besides Unchained Melody. It hasn't released yet. I did it. It's going to be coming out on Patreon this week for a Patreon exclusive. Unfortunately, it is not cleared for YouTube right now. I hope it's going through the process. It's actually, we haven't had any issues with SME yet on Home Free songs. It's managed by SME. It's going through a process. They'll probably just wait 30 days and let our claim expire, which by default just allows us to be able to post it and monetize it without issue. So it probably is going to be a while before it dropped, but it was fantastic. Spoiler alert, I loved it. Jay Gray on Bruce Johnny 99, that was our first Bruce Springsteen reaction from last year, says, I would recommend stuff from Darkness on the Edge of Town and The River, Even Born in the USA. I've actually done the complete album of Darkness on the Edge of Town, and I pulled one or two songs off that and posted to YouTube. The River is up next. I'm probably going to do the full album reaction on Patreon to that in a couple of weeks. And Born in the USA will be after that. I'm going through the entire catalog in order. All three albums show the evolution of Springsteen's songwriting. Love Fogerty, and he is excellent, but I'd agree with the other commenters. Springsteen would certainly be in the conversation of the American singer-songwriters. Yeah, 100%. And this is an old video, and I've already gone through multiple Springsteen albums. Yeah, he's definitely up there, just from what I've heard, and I haven't even gotten really into his 80s stuff beyond Nebraska yet. Stephanie on the Avi Kaplan video says you should try The Summit. His highs and lows are great in that song. Dorit Rosenbach on the Avi video says, thank you for reacting to my favorite artist again. Avi really is special. If you would like to hear him singing effortlessly in his higher register, try listening to He Don't Love You Right. It's a both haunting and hauntingly beautiful song. Lyrics video, look forward to your next reaction. Thank you, Dorit. I appreciate that. And I hope to get through all of Avi's solo stuff. Really love his voice. Love what I'm hearing from him solo. Wireless Mike DJ on the Home Free says you should hear the Christmas song they did on the show with Jewel. It was amazing. Do it. Yeah, I've already listened to that again. That's going to be on the full episode reaction, Patreon exclusive. It was great. I loved it. Wyla on Voice Play says you have heard Jose before. He was featured in Hoist Colors. Yes, somebody on Patreon mentioned that, and it all of a sudden hit me like, yeah, of course I did. I can't believe that I forgot that he was the featured guy on Hoist the Colors. I believe he's part of another a cappella group, Rockefeller. That's right. I believe somebody mentioned that whenever I did Hoist the Colors, which was my first Voice Play song. However, I'm afraid I haven't done a big dive into them enough to tell you what to check out. I'm going to suggest that now you have done this song, you're going to want to add their newest song to your list. It's basically part 2 of My Mother Told Me. That is currently, looks like it's fixing to win our Patreon poll. Our patrons are choosing which Voice Play and Home Free songs we're listening to next. So that will be, more than likely, that's going to win the poll and will be coming out in the next couple of weeks. It appeared last Friday and is epic. The original writer posted his approval as 10 raised L horns out of 10. Nice. And just FYI, Jeff's new song is due out at the end of the week, 14th, I think. Excellent. I'll probably add that to the Voice Play poll and just have it as a Jeff solo option. Thomas Berwick says, Marcelito takes this song to yet another level in the release of his album, Duet Yourself. Brilliant. Love a good pun. Love a good pun. Brilliant title. Since it is a track recording, he includes all of the harmonies where Bocelli and Dion sing together in harmony. That sounds excellent. Kristen Dunstan on the Home Free video says, I don't know if you have reacted to any of Tim's solo doo-wop songs. I have, and I want to do the entire record, because the first song I listened to is one of my favorite songs of all time, Come Go With Me, and I absolutely loved it. He has videos of 4 of them on his YouTube channel. Tim Faust and other 8 on the album are definitely worth audio-only reacts if you do those. Yeah, I hope to react to that entire record. I'll probably pull 1 or 2 off for YouTube and have the rest Patreon exclusive. On the Marcelito video, okay, we're through the suggestions, and now we're fixing to dive in here. Racing 2 Cat, one of our regular viewers, says, I agree with your wow, Cole. I was not expecting those voices to come out of that person. I admit that I'm not familiar with this song, even though I've seen it suggested in the comments from many reactors. As a result, I did some Googling. The original song was sung in English by Celine Dion and Italian by Andrea Bocelli separately in the 90s. Gotcha. I think somebody already said that, or I had seen it whenever I was looking something up at some point. They then sang it together as a duet. Also saw that Marcelito is almost 40, so his vocal cords must be truly exceptional. Yeah, this is very important. Yeah, because once you get to 40, unless you've been taking really good care of your vocals, and I hope I'm getting up in that range myself, and my vocal cords are still holding good, so I'm hoping I'm doing the right things. I do some throat exercises, I stay hydrated, and Marcelito, clearly, if he's that age and still is able to do that with his vocal cords, absolutely ridiculous. This is very impressive. Cat, yeah, absolutely Cat. Totally agree. Deborah Knapp says, greatest singer in the world. Hey, he's definitely one of the best I've heard. Night Dragon says, you're pronouncing his name correctly. He was born with the ability to sing in soprano, tenor, and baritone ranges, and as you can see here, he's doing opera quality singing while sitting down, and in 2 languages he can't speak. Amazing. Yeah, it's just mind-blowing. Catalina Dolnuan says, thank you for reacting on live performance of Marcelito, the pride of Filipinos, a humble man. Love him. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that and commenting. Sue Moore says, love your comments. Marcelito, thank you. I appreciate that, Sue. Marcelito is one of my favorite singers, but also love rock and metal. Went back to watch a few of your other reactions. I almost didn't recognize you without the beard. You're freaking looking 10 years younger. Thank you. I appreciate that, Sue. I have a 4-year-old son who now wears a beard, but it's really trimmed, so it looks good on him. Yeah, and I oscillate all year. I say all year. I start growing it out when the weather starts cooling. I'll grow my hair out, and then when it starts warming up, I'll shave the beard, and then it gets warmer, I'll shave the head, and then I'll grow a little lighter beard, just so I don't look like I'm 12. But yeah, it's and I look like 5 or 6 different people during this process. It's just crazy. John Ryan says, his close people call him Lido. Okay, that's interesting to know. Glad to know that. Nice to know that. On last week's comments, in which I asked, should I react to The Masked Singer? Calvin Great said, you should if they are playing rock music, okay. Pam Forrester, great viewer of the channel, says, and here I am. This community has so many good suggestions, it's hard to keep up. I would love them all. And yes, Masked Singer, I'm cheering on those cough pentatonics. There's apparently the pentatonics are the masked group. California Rolls. Hope they win. Love the show. I'm so happy to be introduced to so many new-to-me artists here. Loving the content. Looking forward to you reacting to Amy. Those duets are fire and aren't anything of hers that might get the channel taken down. Thank you for the video and commentary. Can't wait to read others' comments. They are fun. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. I'm actually planning on when I put that first poll out on Patreon, I'm going to have an Amy Winehouse on there. The first non-voice play, Bruce and home free poll package. KMW Wrench says, oh, Lord, no, not The Masked Singer. What a stupid, ridiculous idea. I watched the very first episode and thought it was the dumbest, most pointless thing I've ever seen. Hands down. Okay, gotcha. All right, B-dubs. All right, B-dubs. I'm going to cast a vote of no in futility. I confess I'm not one for the game shows contests like the Sing Off, American Idol, Masked Singer, etc., but I realize on this channel viewing numbers on these types of videos are blowing away everything else. Yeah, the voice play and home free stuff really got a lot of views, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of people interested in doing it, so I guess I'm just going to hold off on that. On the home free video, Denise Landry, another regular viewer of the channel, says, at this point in the competition, I didn't think there was any way they wouldn't win. They had won me over long before this performance. It would have been interesting to see the outcome if viewers had voted instead of the judges. Yeah, they would have had my vote without a doubt. Thanks, Cole. Thank you, Denise. Appreciate it. Brenda Sorensen, another regular viewer, says, I too thought 10 did an excellent job, so I've wondered what was going on through the judges' minds. I said in that video that I honestly felt like, even though I preferred Home Free's performance, that I thought 10 had a better performance on that particular episode. I lost my spot here. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Home Free, but the two groups were great that night, and Home Free definitely took full advantage of the opportunities that opened up when they won. Lazy Lady says Home Free in a video said that 10 absolutely nailed their performance. Also, they said if one looked at the paper of the two songs, comparing them, a person would have thought that 10 would have won. Yeah, that's how I felt. Home Free sang a song that hadn't even topped the billboards, while 10 did a cover of a hit song originally done by Beyonce. I believe what went through the judges' mind was Home Free's consistency. That's a very good point. Probably was. Home Free was the only group that wasn't in the bottom two during the whole competition. Also, Home Free's harmonies were phenomenal, and they had the advantage of being a professional group on tour for several years. In contrast, 10, composed of phenomenal professional singers, were trying to find their way to their identity as a newly formed a cappella group. The group had never performed with an audience before the show. They were on the bottom two once. That's true. Burnett, another great viewer of the channel, says, as Jules said, you could see and hear Austin going for the stars. That is the most intense performance I've ever seen from him. Yeah, I think the passion and intensity from all of them weighed in the judge's decision. Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for going through these, Cole. Thank you for watching, Carol. Appreciate that. And I apologize for every now and then I'll forget to mute my messages app that I have on this laptop, and I will get a ding there. So I apologize for that if I just blew my ears out. Bad Motorfinger says, somebody should have rushed out an oxygen tank for Austin at the end of this. He absolutely did not stop me at true. And honestly, I bet, based on how he sounds these days, I bet it would be even easier for him to hit that, and he wouldn't be so burnt out by the end of the show. But he still did a great job either way. I just think he's even that much better now. Bobby First says, love your Home Free reactions, Cole. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate that. Looking sharp with beard trimmed and fresh cut. Thank you. I appreciate that, Bobby. Dagmar S., another great viewer of the channel, says, I really enjoyed that last performance by our guys. They all did a fabulous job. Tim and Adam carrying the bass and percussion were great as always. Who needs instruments or even misses them when these guys are just that good? Agreed. Pamela Goodman says he had wrecked his voice. The judges had him sing High C over and over, and it was so bad that he couldn't warm up for the number. So you have a really good ear. No one I've read has noticed that yet. Yeah, he was, you could tell he was reaching, he was stretching, he was kind of stressed there. I really would have liked to have heard him warmed up, but rested with some vocal rest, and heard him do that performance. But again, he still did a great job on there. You could just tell he had to reach for it. Nana Deborah says, on Chris Rupp's History of Home Free on his channel, I really want to check that out. Austin and Tim talk about how they were pushed constantly to practice. Austin said they didn't allow for vocal rest. Yeah, you can tell too. Thanks. Tracy Allshouse says, I absolutely love your channel. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. It could possibly be the fact that you and my son look almost like twins. You're so entertaining. Thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that so much. And obviously, your son must be a good-looking gentleman, and if I do say so myself. Anyway, Patricia, excuse me, I missed one. Sure Khan. This is the least favorite of the sing-off performances. Sometimes it sounded off to me, but I don't know if that's the way the song goes. Anyhow, my ears just didn't care for it. I can see that. And again, there were some, I think it was this one I said at the beginning. It sounded like there may have been a little bit off in the harmony, and then Austin was really stretching, and as everybody's saying here, he was really strained from not being allowed to rest properly and get warmed up good. But I like the performance overall. I thought it was really good. It wasn't as good as some of their other performances to me. Patricia Emmy says, always good to listen to these guys. I agree. They only get better every year. Yeah, they're phenomenal. Like right now, they're at this point in time, I can't imagine them even getting any better. I say that and then watch the next thing they come out with will be the best thing I've ever heard in my life. It's just crazy. Baby Fry says, it's not my favorite song, but the boys did it well. I agree that Austin was reaching a tiny bit, but I chalk that up to TV jitters. Good reaction, Cole. Thank you, Baby Fry. I appreciate that. Baby Fry is another great support of the channel. On voice play, my mother told me. Bob Kitten 81 says, are you prepared to check out their Valhalla Calling now? This is a good warm-up. Yes, that looks like it's going to win the Patreon poll this week, so I'll be shooting it next week, and it'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks before it's on YouTube. Ikayas, who's another regular viewer of the channel, if I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm so sorry. He says he still won't be ready. Okay, replying to the Bobs. Okay, yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard it's amazing. Richard Lester, another regular viewer, says Jose was featured in Voice Plays cover of Voice Colors. Right. If you haven't checked that out, Valhalla. If you haven't checked that out, I have, and I had just forgotten that Jose was the guy, and somebody mentioned that, and it all came rushing back to me. And I'm getting old. What can I say? It's just I have to apologize for it. Valhalla Calling, be warned, has exhausted reactors. I am pumped for this. Leslie Levan says this is such a good cover that Voice Play did. Absolutely. Aurora said in this one they are all still in their home areas. In the new one, the four are together, and Jay soon arrives, preparing to stand together, working up into pure berserker battle rage. Man, this sounds incredible. Can't wait. Karina Rodebach, another great viewer of the channel, says the lyrics are taken straight out from Igel Skalagrim. Ooh, I like that. Now, I probably just murdered the pronunciation, but I like the way the words look. Saga. So true Viking. Egil maybe was well known for being a good poet and warrior. When Leif Erikson sailed from Greenland to Newfoundland, where the remains of his folks' dwelling have actually been found by archaeologists, it's stated in his saga that he also explored the coastline southward. We don't know how far south he came. Probably not more south than New York, but it's fun to imagine he could have come as far as Florida. Yeah, this would make a really great speculative historical fiction series, I think. Yeah, that's some great info, Karina. I'm a big history guy. I don't know a lot about that particular cultural history, but that was great. I appreciate that. Holdra Draco says it wasn't a song originally. It was part of a poem in Icelandic saga book. Gotcha. Annette Corrado. Annette, great support of the channel, and also a patron, says, thanks for your reaction. Thank you, Annette. I'm glad you are reacting to this one first. It will be fresh in your mind when you react to Voice Play's new sequel, this Valhalla Calling. Both are based on old Nordic poems arranged by a miracle of sound for the Assassin's Creed game. The cast of characters and costume here will be in Valhalla Calling. Jose Rosario's character in hooded robe will be done by Caesar in Valhalla Calling, as Jose was a featured guest here after Earl left and Caesar had not joined Voice Play yet. Gotcha. The updated technology, acting, and solos by all members of Voice Play in Valhalla Calling are blowing reactors and everybody else away. Jose Rosario was a member of acapella group Rockefeller. The group featured in the old TV show Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Yeah, I used to watch that. Jose Rosario has been friends with Caesar since they were in high school, and Jose Rosario has recently been touring with Hamilton. Jose Rosario was also Voice Play's featured guest, Voice Colors Right, and a few of their minis. Gotcha. Great info, Annette. Appreciate that. KMW Wrench, another great viewer, says, I love this song. I first heard it almost unbelievably from The Hound and the Fox when Adam Chance and fell in love with it, but I think my favorite version is by Alina Gingertail. She uses some very interesting instruments. Okay, I'll have to check that out. Lois McCrae says, I do know that Jose and Caesar were in the same theater class in high school. Jose a couple of years ahead of Caesar. In the new one, Caesar takes Jose's place, same costumes, tattoos, etc. Ellie outdid himself with video, creative design, direction, Unreal Engine, virtual production, and editing. I'm just so stoked. I just hope I don't get my expectations up here and it's so good, but I have put it too far up. But what I'm hearing there, I don't think you can put it too far up. Everybody's just is saying it's just incredible. Nighthorn Kavala says everybody's recommending their new one, Valhalla Calling. Think of this one as them living their lives at sea on their barges and boats, and the new one as going berserker and mentally preparing for battle, to live or to die. Both songs are fabulous. Excellent. BJ Speck, BJ, another regular viewer of the channel, says Jose Rosario Jr. acts in high-level musicals like Hamilton. I can't imagine you haven't done Voice Colors yet. Again. And Jose was the featured vocalist. Depending on who comments on the 9th century saga, some folks have credited with Norse, some with Iceland. Probably Iceland and Norse were the same back then. Ellie did all the backgrounds for our Vikings. Thank you, BJ, for that information. Appreciate it. Paul McCartney, Beatles reaction. Dagmar S., a great viewer of the channel, says, I'm a huge fan of both the Beatles and Paul McCartney's solo work. I grew up with his music and had most of the records. Some I like better than others, but I don't think they had any bad songs. I like their fun, quirky, unusual songs. Yeah, I do too. I'm a huge Beatles fan. And let's see if you can see. Yeah, you can see my complete Beatles box set. It doesn't have some of the anthology stuff and alternate cuts that came out later, but everything that was released during their time together as the Beatles, I got right there. And, I love the stuff. Even the stuff that I say, yeah, I don't really like that song, I've still got on my playlist and I listen to them. So I mean, I love the Beatles. They're my second favorite group behind Creedence Clearwater Revival. Burnett, Carol again, says, I love the Beatles. I like a lot of their older stuff, probably because I was in love with Ringo when I was 3 or 4. I was in the tween range when their later music came out. I must say that When I'm 64 has a special meaning right now because I will turn 64 this year. I think music can be serious or lighthearted. A constant diet of meaningful music is bad for one's mental health. I also like lighthearted and funny music as part of my musical taste. Thanks. So I agree. I grew up on funny, humorous stuff along with the serious stuff. Like, we'd listen to Righteous Brothers' Unchained Melody, which is super epic and melancholy, real serious and yearning, mournful, all this serious stuff. And then we'd pop in a Ray Stevens tape, and Ray Stevens is just this, country music comedian, just basically, making fun of all kinds of stuff, do these funny songs like Mississippi Squirrel Revival, which I saw Home Free recently did. I love to react to that, and it hasn't been voted on yet for the Patreon, but yeah, I agree completely with that. Carol. Raging 2 Cat says, I enjoyed this break from the norm, Cole. Fun to get your take on lists like these. I appreciate that, Cat. I'd love to do more of these, but it took us 30 days to get this one up. Found that I agreed with most of your rebukes. Have never heard Rocky Raccoon and would not have believed it was by the Beatles. Oh, yeah. I will say that the bar set by the Beatles is so high that their worst songs are still head and shoulders above so much of the music. Agreed. I hope this video gets attention because I'd definitely like to see you do more. Yeah, me too, Kat. I appreciate that. I'd love to do more. I actually prefer to kind of do those kind of videos to just the standard reactions, but I don't have necessarily a lot of time because that was like almost a 20-minute video. And B, they don't get as much views as just the standard reaction stuff. So right now, yeah, I'm doing that. But I do hope it's actually seems to be doing fairly well. It's got a few hundred views. It's definitely no Marcelito Pomeroy level here. But it may warrant enough for me to try it one more time. Maybe do it as a Patreon exclusive. I don't know. Pam Forrester says, never thought I'd hear Beatles. Worst and song in the same sentence. Yeah, right. I'm a super fan, though. Got to agree with you about some of the lesser-known, less poppy songs. I can bet us Beatles fans would counter-argue the critics you quoted. Hey, yeah, it's okay. We still have Yoko. No comment. And blame for destroying musical genius, burning John Lennon, so many number of other things we can come up with. Sorry, I was laughing while I was reading that. Probably couldn't even hear me. It's okay, we still have Yoko to hate, and blame for destroying musical genius, burning John Lennon's soul, and any number of other things we can come up with. We were a rabid little bunch. Hey, again. And Cole, you surprised us yet again. Thank you for the fun, smart commentary. Thank you, Pam. I appreciate that. B-dubs. The funny thing about Beatles music, I have to listen to it separately from everything else. For me, it's its own genre. That is a great point. They have their own playlist on my phone. Please Me through Rubber Soul, Revolver through Let It Be. That's a good dividing line there. Even their solo stuff. I don't have it mixed with other 70s or 80s music. I was born in 73, but all my brothers and sisters are much older, so I basically came out of the womb listening to the Beatles and everything else. I played their LPs and 45s, even though they weren't mine. I had their t-shirts. I memorized their birthdays. I even watched their Sunday morning cartoons. Even though I wasn't around when they were on Sullivan, etc., I feel as though I grew up with them as much as those who were. Yeah, and I'm similar in that, B-dubs. I was actually born in the 80s. My siblings were all older, which they were born in the 70s, though, so it wasn't quite like your situation. My siblings are your age. But my parents were from the 50s, and they grew up in the 60s. And my mom liked the Beatles. One of my uncles, I guess both uncles really liked the Beatles, but one in particular that had a huge influence on me was a Beatles nut. And I've known the Beatles. It's basically I came out of the womb, like you were saying, knowing the Beatles. I absolutely love them. Patrick Muldoon says, completely agree with you. Thank you, Patrick. I like them all except the second last one from Hell. I even like Martha, My Dear. And I've still got Martha, My Dear on my playlist. I mentioned that as one that I felt like was worse than these on the list. Yet, I also listen to Martha, My Dear. I don't skip it. So, to each his own, I guess, and that is the great thing about music. Yeah, absolutely. Book Craver 1 says, I agree with you, especially Maxwell Silver Hammer, which is brilliant. Genius. Sonorcus says, the Beatles are incredible when these are considered the worst songs. 100%. WPL says you could make a whole career today out of these worst Beatles songs of Paul McCartney. Absolutely. And they'd be better than the popular stuff that's out now, in my opinion. Rick Mitchell says, I'm sort of confused by your opinion on Martha, My Dear. It's surely one of Paul's best upbeat, old-timey granny songs, which you said are your favorite Paul songs, second only to When I'm 64. Yeah, Martha, My Dear, and I haven't really I haven't really soul searched to try to figure out why I don't put it up there with the other stuff that's similar. I guess I would just say, for my personal taste, without trying to dig down deep and find out why I feel this way, it just doesn't strike me as well as the other Paul Granny music songs that I mentioned. It's just kind of bottom of the list for me. And Honey Pie is kind of the same way. And I know I had somebody tell me that was their two favorite Paul Beatles songs was Martha My Dear and Honey Pie. For me, they're kind of the bottom of the Granny music list, even though I like it. And again, overall, I've got Martha My Dear, and I may have Honey Pie actually too on a playlist. I think I do, and don't skip it when it comes on. Sound Symphony Band Official says everyone is either in Camp Lennon or Camp McCartney. I like Paul's songs and John's songs equally. The Beatles wouldn't be the Beatles without both of them. Paul definitely had a good creative streak with the White Album. I agree. I agree with that assessment. Without both of them, there would be no Beatles. I prefer Paul. Personal taste, I prefer Paul. Lennon was a great songwriter. Has some great music. Again, I've got playlists full of Lennon compositions, primary compositions, and lead vocals on there. I just prefer Paul. But yeah, without both of them together, there would be no Beatles. Melissa Rumack says, I actually love Maxwell Silverhammer. You're not alone. Yeah, I love it. Totally agree. That list is flat out wrong. I prefer Beatles for Sale, Ford, especially Revolver On. The only song of theirs that somewhat bothers me because it sounds like they couldn't figure out an ending for it. And it seems to just keep going repetitively at the end. She's So Heavy. I understand that criticism. I love She's So Heavy. That's one of my favorite Johns, but that's a valid criticism. Joan Kozlowski says, all part of developing. Paul has accomplished so much. Absolutely. E and DB says, that writer's an idiot. Those are all great songs. I will say, a little bit of devil's advocate here. I think his point, because he titled it Worst Paul McCartney Songs and put it in quotes, is that he was saying there's not necessarily any bad McCartney songs, but if you have to pick the worst of good songs, everything has to be a worst when you have a list. So, of all the good songs, these are the worst. At the same time, I disagreed with his opinion quite a bit on what would be considered Paul's quote-unquote worst songs. On the Avi, Fields, and Peer reaction, Valencia the Queen says, sorry, I had to scroll down a little bit. Something was odd on how this was in here. Says, Avi is playing the guitar. Charlotte Van says, to back up what Valencia said, if you watch the Sunset Sound live recording of Avi performing his original song, When I'm a Fool, you'll see that he's playing the acoustic guitar part himself, accompanied by some of the best studio musicians in LA. He's actually a very accomplished guitarist. Yeah, I appreciate that info. Alma Petri says, Avi sang all the parts of this and then transcribed it all into the various parts. Kevin said Avi handed him the sheet music he had written for the piece. Avi's work is so cinematic. I hear this one especially as a soundtrack. If you have only heard this and Lean on Me, you'll be surprised at some of his other work. His work after this AP just keeps blowing my mind. EP keeps blowing my mind. Interesting thing is he is harmonizing with Kevin Olusulo's cello on this. I never can pronounce his name right. I apologize for that. I never have learned the correct pronunciation on Kevin's last name. But anyway, yeah, and it sounded fantastic. I did the entire EP, and I hope to do all of his other music, because I've just loved what I've heard from him so far. Coco Hole, I believe it says Avi composed the music for the strings and cello. I think he said that he sang the parts for them to understand the sound he wanted. I love the part where he duets with the cello. You will find with Avi that he explores many genres of music. It is hard to pigeonhole his music. This whole EP, Avi uses his upper range. Sage and Stone was made when he was still with Pentatonic, so my guess is he was purposely using a higher range than he did with Pentatonics. Avi's other EPs and LP, he uses full range. Great reaction, and looking forward to the next. Cheers. Appreciate that. One more thing, Avi's playing the guitar, and Breedlove is a brand. Avi bought that guitar in high school. He saved up for a year and still uses it today. Yeah, I was not familiar with that, so I asked that in the video. I appreciate that info. Maria Williams says, really like your reaction. Avi's amazing. Thank you, Maria. I appreciate that. Marie Smith says, it's the beatboxer Kevin Pentatonics playing the cello. Yeah. Karina Rodobot. Karina, a great viewer from the channel. I think we already had a comment from Karina. Avi is something special. He has a way to get into your soul. I like different styles of music, but Avi is the go-to place for resting the soul and being reinvigorated. Yeah, really great stuff. Rochelle Phipps says, love anything Avi does. Can't wait to see more of your reactions to Avi. He's amazing. Tommy Ev says, looking forward to the next piece of Avi. It is a great EP, as are the others he has released. Stay tuned, Tommy. We've got, I think next week, I've got another one off of Sage and Stone coming up. I actually filmed these quite some time ago, but it took us a while to get it clear, like 30 days or whatever to get it cleared. Frankster says Breedlove has long been a highly regarded make of acoustic guitar. And that's really funny because I've never heard. I feel like I'm usually pretty up on guitar brands, and I saw that and I'm just like, I've never heard of it that I'm aware of. Never seen it. Reader listener says, love Avi's work. His newer work is a cross between folk, Americana, and country. Sounds right up my alley. With some southern style rock on occasion, even more up my alley. You provided a well thought out reaction. I appreciate that. Yes, Avi does all the singing guitar. The cello is played by Kevin from Pentatonics. I believe Avi wrote the entire song. Great reaction. Thank you, reader. I appreciate that. Heather Ward says you cannot go wrong with anything by Avi. His work is amazing. Can't wait for the next one. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. Shirley Moffat says Avi was still with Pentatonics when he recorded the Sage and Stone EP, and he uses his higher register on all the tracks, perhaps to make the biggest possible contrast with his Pentatonics work. Yeah. Quarter Past Four is my favorite, and as of March 2022, he was still playing it live. I shall look forward to your next reaction to Avi. I'm sure it will be positive. Yeah, it's going to be another one from the Sage and Stone EP, and it should be out, I think, next week. Pam S. Carr says the cello was played by Kevin. Beatbox for Pentatonics. I understand he had to change the normal tension of the strings so the cello can match Avi's deep notes. That is incredible. You know you're low when the cello's set too high. Avi has a 5+ octave range, and because he's classically trained, he can use all of those vocal octaves quite well. Because he's an overtone singer as well, he also has the ability to produce whistle notes. There's also a Christmas video Pentatonics did in which Avi was making organ chime sounds with his voice. He is quite talented. Jeff's Sound of Silence video, okay, these are some older videos. Jonadab, the unsightly one, said the Disturbed version is more angry, this version is more sad, maybe even sympathetic. That's true. We've talked about that here on the channel. Home Free Colder Weather, Don R. said that was the only negative, which wasn't really negative, they got on the whole show. Producers must have been the realest A's of all time. Home Free performances were perfect, all of them. They were good. Again, there was I thought I heard a little bit of, not on the Colder Weather like the judges said, but I thought I heard a little something on their last song. It was the Hunter Hayes cover. But other than that, and that could have just been something in my headphones, I don't know. But other than that, they were spectacular through the entire performance. On Voice Play Little Mermaid, Jayess Hound says, I love how he says pathetic. Bruce, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Pushback. Another regular viewer says, my first Bruce concert, River Tour 81. He opened with Rockin' All Over the World. Excellent. Excellent. That's a John Fogerty song, one of my favorite Fogerty solo songs. That's so good. That's great. Scooter, Bruce's actual nickname. Wow, I did not know that. Twink, another great viewer of the channel, says, except for Clarence, it was the Becker brothers played on this when it was recorded in New York City. Famously, they were having trouble recording it, and Stevie Van Zandt, not in the band at the time, was visiting. He suddenly said, I got it, and sang the horn parts of the players, and it got finished. It may not have been a top radio hit, but it's played virtually every Bruce show. I love it. It's one of my favorite Bruce's. Now Clarence is always displayed on the video screens when the big man joined the band is sung. That's great. If you can manage it, see the current tour. It's fantastic, and he has a full horn section, so of course this is played. I'd love to go to a Bruce show. I'm not sure if he's going to be around here, even if he were. Like, it's about an hour. Anybody comes around here, it's going to be a minimum hour drive. Usually it's like 2, 3, 4 hours plus to go anywhere because it's price living out in the country. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But if I want to go see a big show, it's really hard to get there. But yeah, I'd love to do that. It's fantastic, and it has a full horn section, so of course this is played. Jay Gray says a lot of Springsteen stuff didn't do well on the radio. Still brilliant, yeah. The E Street Band is one of the best rock and roll bands ever, 100%. All right, that is it. This has been way long. I may go in there and trim some of this stuff out because this is super long videos, like 50-minute video. Nobody's going to watch the end of this. So, all right. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Appreciate y'all watching this. Appreciate all the support on Patreon, YouTube, all the comments, all the likes, all the views. And we'll see you soon.